I stopped in my tracks. I thought, oh no, I have kind of overdone it. And I didn't even realize what had happened. Hey, Monique here, sitting at Silver Bus Studio. And I want to talk to you about something that is a kind of my hot take on a very popular topic. And it's a lesson I learned just within the last week. And it's about burnout, and it's about self-care. Let me tell you a story. Let's start with a story. Last week, I had an amazing week. I had just a whole bunch of awesome photo sessions and client meetings and a great time in my personal life. Dog was great, husband's great, everything's great. And it was, a successful week for my business, I would say, right? Looking back now, it was overbooked. that was one of my warning signs. So I had 4 or 5 sessions during the week, and I typically try to take weekends off. And for whatever reason, I decided that I wanted to meet a client at the studio on a weekend, and I did a session at the studio, which I wouldn't normally do. It just kind of worked out better in a lot of ways, especially looking at the week ahead and everyone's schedules. And sometimes what happens when I have a week full of sessions is that they energize me. I get lots of energy, really positive. It's so great. And then it's kind of too late sometimes before I realize what has happened. So by the time I got home on that Saturday, I was just about in tears all of a sudden, just wanting to cry. And I didn't understand why. I'd had a great time. I'd had a great week. It was so fun. But I was feeling like I wanted to cry, like I wanted to go to bed. It was 10:30 in the morning. I was so tired. I stopped in my tracks. I thought, oh no, I have kind of overdone it. And I didn't even realize what had happened. And so that's kind of the burnout people talk about. Now, I've been under severe burnout before, where life itself was unrelenting. A lot of different things, abuse, kids, finances, all kinds of things that I was dealing with at one point. This is not that kind of burnout. This is I've overdone work kind of burnout. And for me, the symptoms of that, when I've kind of overstretched myself, I would say, would be that I make really simple mistakes. So if I'm texting the same thing and it's and you're like, oh, darn, autocorrect, and it's not. You just accidentally typed the wrong thing 4 times in a row. Simple mistakes. I get a little bit more irritable. I'm typically fairly even-keeled, but I find that maybe I snapped for some reason, or some dog did something simple and it irritated me. Just a little extra irritable. Sign for me is, suddenly out of the blue, I want to cry when there's nothing upsetting really happening. I get extra sleepy, which is what I felt this week. Sometimes I get to a point where I can't sleep at all because, not at all, but I don't get as much sleep as I normally would need because I'm thinking about all these things. Sometimes if it's extended, I feel kind of uninterested in stuff I would normally do. Maybe it's another kind of art or a show that I like, littler things. And then another sign for me is I get extra anxious. So this could be burnout, this could be stress, this could be depression, right? But for me, these were all signs that I was overdoing it. So these are all the things I noticed in myself that day. Suddenly I was like, oh goodness. So for me, what did I do for that? Now, here's where I have my hot take, and you are not possibly going to agree with this. All my life, I've been a caregiver, So I cared for my younger siblings when I was a kid. I cared for all of my whole house full of kids when I was raising kids. I've cared for my spouses and my siblings and my dogs and pets, and I'm kind of a caregiver. And that's what I do. And that's probably what you do. And so when people throw around the word self-care, I understand the need to say that, especially to women, because a lot of times we are that person taking care of the pets and the kids and everything, right? That may sound stereotypical, but it's also true. It's been true for me. So we're caring for everyone all the time. And when I'm caring for my kids, I'll say, I'm caring for my kids. When I'm caring for my dog, I say, I'm caring for my dog. When I'm caring for my spouse, I'm caring for my spouse. But when I'm caring for myself, I have to label it something new, and it's something new and special, and something I need to set aside time for, and I have to spend money on or time on, and that's self-care. And I'm not making fun of that. I'm just saying, unfortunately, what position we've been put in is that we have to label it special or it won't happen, or we don't deserve it. I'm not sure the stigma behind this self-care movement. Again, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying we need to relabel it to just care. And then you can just put it on your list of all the things you're doing today. Okay, I'm going to care for the dog and the husband and the house and myself. And it could be, I'm going to care for myself and the house and the dog and put it in whatever order you want. But as you are the same level of priority as everybody else, everything else that you're caring for, you get to be part of that. And when you get to the point where you say, I need to set aside time for self-care, you're likely already burnt out or feeling like you're being taken advantage of, or, any number of reasons. And if you think that you have to say, I need time for self-care, that should be a warning sign to you that it is time to do something. There's some stereotypes around that too. So it's often stereotyped that, okay, self-care is you go get a massage, you get your nails done, all these things that they say they point towards feminine kind of people. And, I get massages, I get nails done. I just don't, it's not the thing that I would go to first. So I also resent the idea that self-care has to be these certain things. For example, when my husband needs a day, he just needs a day, like a personal day. He will sit on the couch and watch, some of his movies that he loves while, he eats some popcorn and sits with the dog. And that's his day. Does he label that self-care? No, it's just care. He's taking care of himself. I don't give him a hard time. I actually, encourage it. Like, oh my gosh, good for you. He's kind of an overworker as well. You took an entire Tuesday and just listen to yourself, listen to your body and your mind and your everything, and took a day. And men don't often say, oh, I had a self-care day. No, they just had a day where they took care of themselves. You know what I mean? And so for me, what that looks like, and it could look like something different for everyone, which is the beauty of this. We don't have to label it with all of these particular stereotypes, okay? For me, all that next day, I wore pajamas. It was PJ day. I love my pajamas. I put my pajamas on and I turned on the fireplace. I did some reading. I had 3 books I was in the middle of, and I thought, this is a great time, middle of the day reading. This is so great. And I actually finished 2 of them. Sometimes I watch what I call crap TV, where it's just like my indulgence kind of TV, like over-the-top comedy or just some old movie I've watched a bunch of times, whatever it is, or a movie I haven't seen in a long time, kind of those comfort ones I've seen over and over. For me, I love doing that. Similar to my husband. Some easier things, if I'm feeling this coming on, like on the way to a session or home from one, is box breathing. This is something I would have thought was ridiculous like 2 years ago. That can't be helpful, but honestly, it really is. And you can do this in the car, which I've done in the car many times. And it's where you breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you let it out. 2, 3, 4, and you pause, hold your breath, 2, 3, 4. Back in to count of 4, hold for count of 4, out for count of 4, hold for count of 4. So you can picture a box while you do that. And it is shocking. 2 or 3 rounds of that, which took just a few seconds. Oh my goodness, oxygen does a body good. Box breathing has been a big one for me. For a lot of people, meditation is. But sometimes meditation feels like a chore to me. And so it's not the first thing I go to, but perhaps it is for you. Drinking more water. I know that sounds silly. My oldest always said, if you're not feeling good, you should just drink more water. So I'm always doing what they suggest, and I've got my water right here. And so drink extra water. I know that sounds silly, but when I'm feeling overwhelmed, making sure my body's hydrated and I've got enough oxygen, just like I'm halfway there sometimes, I feel like. A huge one for me that my counselor told me a long time ago is go outside. Go outside, even if it's just on my front porch. And I'm listening to it rain, which doesn't do much here in Colorado, but watching it snow, whatever it is, bundle up, sit on the porch. If I could walk around the block with the dog, if I could go to a natural area or up in the mountains, like I can make it bigger and bigger. But time in nature, outside, unconfined, just enjoying leaves and rocks and whatever's around you, that's huge. I've had times where I'm in the middle, full disclosure, middle of a panic attack. And if I go outside, I feel immediately better. So going in nature, a business one that I'll often do if it feels like sometimes these busy times are just seasons of sacrifice for me. So I know that October is busy in my studio, for example, but November and December are fairly quiet. So sometimes I just have to get through that time. But what happens during those times is I just abandon low-level tasks. I just abandon them. If I am not prioritizing, say, Instagram, I just won't post on Instagram. No pressure. I will pause my podcast. If I can see it coming, like I did last year for December, I will film extra videos so I can take time off, videos for here on YouTube. So then if I can get a couple of done and then I have a couple of weeks where I don't have to film or script or anything like that, that helps. So I abandon low-level tasks just completely. Don't feel like you have to do everything all the time. I don't do dishes. Like last weekend, I didn't do any dishes. I did a little bit of cooking because I had a new recipe I wanted to try, and that seemed relaxing to me. Sometimes I just listen to music super loud, really loud. And that helps me if I have that anxious energy, like it just kind of gets rid of some of that. So those are some of the things I do to take care of myself. And the list goes on and on, of course, right? And sometimes it's situational. Some things will help better than others. Oh, I do call my counselor. I did call my counselor this week. That helped a ton. I had some anxiety of something coming up, and talking to my counselor made me feel a million times better. So even if I was talking to my counselor, drinking some water and doing some breathing, that'll at least get me through the rest of the day, right? So when I can take care of myself for a little bit longer amount of time, for a whole day maybe, or whole afternoon. So I know that you sometimes have these days. If you're a business owner, or some of you might be someone who's a business owner and you work for another company. Maybe you're a volunteer and you just give so much. You probably have been in this fate, right? Where you have been overwhelmed, burnout, those kind of things. My thought, what helps me, is to learn to watch for the triggers. So the more that you can kind of step outside yourself and see what's coming down the trail, like I didn't do last week. If I could have looked at my calendar, I would have said, oh, Monique, you know what you're setting yourself up for right there. So a little bit of self-awareness. Yeah. Look at what's coming down the road. Look at things. Are you being irritable about? One thing that you're kind of surprised about? All these little things kind of added up for me last week. I had all these symptoms and I didn't see what was happening. So that's my suggestion, is kind of keep track of what those little things are. When you get to that state of burnout, once you pass the critical part, Just look and go, okay, what immediately preceded this? Oh, okay. Then you can see that coming up for the next time. And then keep track of what really makes you feel comfortable, makes you feel like blanket warm. You got maybe your doll or your dog, and maybe you've got a special tea that you just love, or, even fuzzy socks, a movie that you've seen a million times that you want to just watch again. What brings you comfort, And then I would say, this is a lesson I'm learning myself, is to just say it's care. It doesn't have to be self-care. It's just care. You are on the list like everybody else, like your clients, like your pets, like your family, like your home and your chores and your bills. You are on that list. It is care. That's it. So I thought I'd do a little talk from the heart. My foot's kind of falling asleep right now. And just let you know that I have those days too. Yeah. And that you can always reach out to me. We have the Facebook group. You have my email. It's right here in the description of this video. Anytime that you're feeling overwhelmed, just send me an email. Write something in the group. Our Facebook group is incredible. Write something in the comments of this video and someone will come out and give you a virtual hug. Hugs are great too. Add that to the list. I love hugs. We're here. We'll support you. There will be times where you feel overwhelmed. There will be times that you feel like you're burnt out. There will. We're humans. That's what we do. We've got our ups and downs, but hopefully this was helpful to you. A little insight there and a little encouragement. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon. Okay.